Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tales of the Pod podcast. My name's Michaela, I'm your host.
I'm your co-host Nick. How's it going, guys?
So, sorry we missed last week's upload. Sometimes life just happens.
It does just happen, I agree.
But we are back this week to discuss, I don't want to say our favorite, because that kind of sounds fucked up, but we're here to talk about some disturbing horror movies.
Yeah.
This is definitely a different kind of genre of horror, I would say.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah, and I would say these aren't like, I don't know, I think it's fucked up to be like, oh, this is my favorite, because some of them are like super dark.
Yeah, because I don't know, I mean, it's like that niche type of horror where it's like, I know, it's like there's going to be some on my list that are like, what the hell, you've seen that? But it's just like, I didn't know going into it that's what it was going to be like, you know? I mean, obviously I've heard like, rumors about some of them, but... And I just want to see for myself, is it really as bad everybody's like making it out to be? And some of them really aren't, like, at least to me. Like, I guess I'm just that sensitive enough for that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of them for me are like a one and done. Like, I watch them and I'm like, oh, what's all the hype about? Or sometimes the movie poster looks good, and then I'm like, okay, like, this is going to be interesting or whatever, and then you watch it and you're like, the rest of the day you're just like feeling empty, and like you feel like you should shower, and you feel gross, and you're like, what did I just watch? Am I a bad person for watching that? Like,
yeah, no, I know what you mean, that because it's like, that's how I think, well, that's how you learn about horror movies too. You like learn about like different ones, and you know,
and a lot of them look interesting, and it's like, oh, that sounds interesting, and then you watch it and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, I've had that happen with a couple on this list that I've seen, you know, I'm like, what the hell, I was not expecting that, you know.
Yeah, so I guess we're just going to talk about some ones that we find interesting, I guess. Maybe not our favorite necessarily, because I feel like that's fucked up to say, but just something that we find interesting. Do you want to touch on yours first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay. My list kind of is more or less like very violent films, I guess, and kind of like, I don't know, just odd.
Well, I think that's interesting too, is what other people find disturbing. Like, when you research some of these, it's like, some of them I watch and I'm like, I didn't find that super disturbing.
That's what I'm saying, like, some of them, like...
But then other ones, I was like, I consider that so disturbing.
Right, yeah, like, well, you think Midsummer's, like, disturbing. I don't think that's disturbing
I didn't think it was, like, disturbing. It left me feeling, like, that, like, empty feeling. Like, I felt very, like, unsettled.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's different, like, ways to take these movies, you know what I'm saying? Like,
things that disturb me are more like the... what we were just talking about. Oh, like Martyrs. Like, Nick was like, why do you find Martyrs disturbing? And I just don't like... I like the concept and like the gore. I think it's cool. I think they could have went without all the woman violence. Like, the way they just like beat the shit out of that... Was it Anna? Was that her name?
Yeah.
They just like beat the shit out of her scene after scene after scene, and it's so drawn out. And for me, that's just not... I feel like that happens so much in real life. I don't need to see it in a movie.
Right, you're not going to see it portrayed on the big screen.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
Women
that
are
is
all the
very
time.
disturbing. You know, I understand that part of it.
So for me, I find that more disturbing than anything.
Right. All right, well, I guess I'll start off with my number 6 here. I picked 1989's American experimental silent horror film, Begotten. So this one, I like saw video clips of it, like growing up, like, you know, online and everything like that, and then like movie posters of it and whatnot. And I've always wanted to see it. I was finally able to find it somewhere. I think it was like online. Like, some of these movies that I'm going to be mentioning, like, it's hard to find them like on a streaming service. You have to like go to like weird like.
Well, a lot of them are nowadays, which is crazy because we've talked about this before, but a lot of them used to be on Netflix. When Netflix first started.
That
Not
is
this
true.
One, but like there are a lot.
Right, there are some. Yeah, they're on here, but
and
this
now
one
banned to Tubi.
Right. Yeah, everyone goes to Tubi for that. But yeah, so I like this one. I actually found online somewhere on like some weird like, you know, download this link to watch this movie kind of website.
Like some LimeWire shit.
Yeah, basically. But it is directed and produced by E. Elias Merhige, and it stars Brian Salzberg, Donna Dempsey, and Stephen Charles Barry. And it's actually, they're all members of this theater company that this Elias guy owns or whatever. It's called the Theater of Material. But basically the whole movie is shot in black and white, and it's very reminiscent of like the silent era of film in, you know, like the early 1900s, 1920s, like the golden age of cinema type of deal. But there's no dialect in the movie, and...
That's even creepier.
It is. And it's basically a creation story of, it starts out like this godlike deity, which is very disturbing. Like, just the images are very shocking. He unalives himself, And by doing so, he creates Mother Earth and the Son of the Earth, who set out on a journey across this barren landscape. And the film, basically, it's that. It's like a lot of these like disturbing images that are in black and white, very like godlike in their appearance and whatnot. These deities or these people or whatever you want to call them. But it actually draws a lot from like our own like mythology, like Christian mythology, Celtic mythology, Slavic paganism, a lot of religion, and there's also a lot of like the vibe of the whole movie is very like pessimistic, very like Friedrich Nietzsche, like there's really no point in life kind of thing.
See, that's depressing as fuck.
But there's no dialect to really go on. It's just like the feel you get. It's very dark, It's a very dark
That's
film.
what I mean. Like a lot of times after these movies, you're just left there sitting like feeling so empty.
I didn't feel that way. I was kind of like, that was really boring, because it's very boring. I thought it was going to be like, oh my god, this is like too messed up, I got to turn it off. And I'm like watching it, I'm like, this is actually really boring. Like, there's no dialect, it's hard to follow the story, it's hard to follow the story and everything. But if you go and just look up the pictures, you guys, I can't show you because of copyright and whatever, but it's very like terrifying, these images. There's like this woman deity god thing that's got like scissor fingers, and she's like carving away at her stomach, and her like mouth is all like extremely unhinged. It's like down to her chest, and she's like not making any noise, but just like cutting.
Did it get a theater release, or was it straight to VHS?
I think it was just straight to VHS. I'm not sure if it was.
It doesn't sound like it would.
Yeah, it was only made on a $30,000 budget, and I think it literally was. Yeah, it was just a home video release. That's probably why I had to look online to find it, because there was no like bootleg of it. Unless somebody made it, at their house or whatever. But I liked it. I thought it was definitely different. It's a short run too. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes. It's not a long movie, but very, very reminiscent of like the early cinema, which I thought was really cool. How he did this Elias guy. But yeah, at the same time, it was very like, I guess that's a really good way to put it, is like Friedrich Nietzsche, like pessimistic, there's really no hope.
Depressing.
Yeah, there's really no hope in life. I don't know. We're all just like, just floating on this big earth,
Scissoring open our stomachs.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. They're not actual people. They're supposed to be portraying like deities, and like certain aspects of life. They're not supposed to be like people, obviously, doing this stuff. They're supposed to be portraying that in an image like that. So it's definitely a very artsy film. By that I mean, and I definitely think people should at least just give it a watch and see, because like you'll look at the pictures online if you Google The Begotten, like some of the film clips. You're like, dude, that looks terrifying. That's like the stuff of nightmares. I want to see that. That's how I like why I watched it, because I'm like, this is terrifying looking. Like, this is creepy as hell. Like, it's freaky looking. So.
Yeah, all the pictures say nightmare fuel next to them.
Yeah, it's very, very like creepy. So I definitely think people should go give it a watch and not just brush it off as like some weird like art film.
I recognize some of these pictures as like things people would post on like Tumblr or something.
Yeah, it'd be like there's like probably memes and stuff made of them. Like just like I haven't slept since I saw this movie or something. That's like a meme. That's what I'm like. That's what I mean. Like I'm like, oh, I want to see this. Like this looks terrifying. And then I watched it and like it's really not that bad. It's freaky looking.
It also depends on like the age you watch these movies too.
If
you watch it when you're younger, they're way more traumatizing than now. Which I think
that's
I watched
true.
when I was younger.
Yeah, I think I saw this when I was like, I don't know, like 15, 16, I don't know. But that is my number 6, so that is The Begotten. Or just Begotten.
Well, the first one I'm going to talk about is 2018's The House That Jack Built, which this is an interesting movie because it's like you're watching a serial killer go throughout their journey, Yeah. Like, he goes on to kill about 60 people, and the whole movie is just textbook serial killer activity. Like, he goes back and he revisits the crimes. He pulls, like, some Ted Bundy shit, and there's a woman pulled over the side of the road, and he's like, oh, I'll help you, I'll drive you
that
off.
was, like, in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, and he's like, it's, like, perfect, It's
like, perfect situation.
for him.
He was an architect, I believe, in Washington, and he lost his job, and he became a serial killer, and the whole movie is him. And he's already caught by police, and he's kind of recounting all of his crimes and, like, what made him feel that way. And he had all these issues. He had, like, extreme OCD, and that movie is called The House That Jack Built, and you're watching this, and you're like, where is this? Is this, like, a metaphorical thing? Like, where is the house coming into play? And the most disturbing part of the movie, which I mean, if you watch true crime, I would say the rest of the movie, it's disturbing, but at the same time, if you watch true crime, you're kind of familiar with what happens with serial killers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And how they prey on their victims, and like, yeah, that part's disturbing, but at the end, you see that he had taken all of his victims and made them into a house with all of their bodies.
Oh, really?
They're all made into a house.
Wow.
And it's called The House That Jack Built, is the movie. And just, like, seeing all their, like, naked, dead bodies in a house form that he, like, and he goes inside, he, like, sits in it, and there's, like, some religion concepts, too, because he goes inside, he sits in it, and then it becomes, like, the ninth ring of hell.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like, there's some religious aspects of it as well.
Sure.
But I think, not only was this, like, an interesting role for Matt Damon to take.
Matt Dillon.
Or Matt Dillon, yeah. I think if it hadn't been him, I think if they cast somebody maybe not as well known, people would have watched it and maybe thought it was actual found footage.
Oh,
because
really?
it's really well done.
Yeah.
Like, it's very...
I've only seen the beginning of it. It's a long movie, too.
It's a drawn-out movie. It's a slow burn. But definitely a build-up to the end. Definitely just a really eerie, uncomfy feeling because he looks like a normal dude. Like, he looks like he would be your neighbor. It looks like it would be anybody on the street.
Right.
And it really just dives into, like, the background of serial killers and how they get to the point of killing, 60, 70, 100
exactly.
victims. And you can tell
what the motive is, like, behind it, too.
Right.
In this case, he wants to build a house out of their dead bodies. So.
Right. Like, obviously, he's got something going on.
Yeah, he's got a motive for it.
Like, he did have some OCD and stuff like that going on, but he did end up getting, like, a girlfriend, too, but he just couldn't help himself, and that's a huge aspect of serial killers with their narcissism. Like, they need to tell people, oh, I've killed this many people.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, right, whatever, and then he starts acting weird, and she's like, okay, maybe you did.
Yeah.
Like, they have this narcissism inside of them to do it, but you feel like you're actually, I don't know, you feel like you're watching something you shouldn't be watching. Like,
yeah,
he,
no,
like,
I know what you mean.
Some innocent girl up on the side of the road. There's one with, like, a camping trip of families, like, camping in a tent, and he just attacks them out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's like that, like, dread. You get like, I know what you mean.
You're
like
watching some, like, live leak video you shouldn't be watching.
You're right.
Like, it feels very realistic and very planned out and eerie.
No, I agree.
And I thought it was interesting. It actually bombed at the box office.
Really?
Yeah, the budget was $9.9 million. It only made $5.6 million.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it took a big hit, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, it's probably not for everybody. They probably got like one bad review or a few bad reviews being like, this is awful, and then, that's the thing with like these box office, like, it all really depends on these critics reviewing these movies and saying like, this is horrible. But then you have this awesome thing, if they do say it's horrible, they become cult classics, like the one I'm about to talk about next,
Yeah, I don't know if that was a cult classic. It's one I think I just found randomly when I was like,
it was on Netflix, I remember.
It was on Netflix, but I think when I was like researching like a serial killer documentary to watch, it literally came up.
Oh, really?
And I was like, okay.
Well, it kind of is like maybe like a mockumentary.
It
is him like recanting his, his.
And they pull from so many different people. Like it's just
sure, right.
Once you know about serial killers and you watch it, you're like, wow.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Very good. So for my number 5, I picked 1978's I Spit on Your Grave. It was originally titled Day of Woman. So this movie came out in 1978. It's an American rape revenge film. It was directed by Miri Zarkchi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it basically tells the story of this girl, Jennifer Hills, who's played by Camille Keaton. And she's a writer from New York City, and she is upstate, I'm assuming, in upstate New York somewhere. And, just relaxing, probably in like the Adirondacks or something like that. And she's going to be working on a new book or a new story or whatever, working for whoever the publishing company she's working for. And she basically gets attacked and violated by, I think it's 4 different people. While at this cabin up in the, I'm just going to say it's the Adirondacks because I'm just picturing the Adirondacks. But yeah, this film is very, very, very violent for the year it came out. I remember watching this and I was like, I felt like I should turn it off, like I'm watching something that I should not be ever seeing kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very uncomfortable. But the awesome part was she got her revenge. Yes. And that's what made me like keep watching. I'm like, okay, she's gonna these guys are gonna pay for what they did to this poor girl. And can't really talk about a lot of the stuff in the movie, but she exacts her revenge and kills all 4 of them essentially. They leave her for dead after they violate her, think she's dead, and continue on with their life. But one by one, they start going missing, and she's killing them in very horrific ways. You know, there's orchidectomies, there's a bunch of different types of killing.
She makes her revenge in like a very unique, like well thought out way.
Yes.
Instead of just like shooting them or killing them or whatever. And
yeah.
I think
she makes them suffer.
Yes. But she had to suffer.
Oh God.
And she's gonna have to suffer the rest of her life. Mm-hmm. And like I think I said this with Last House on the Left. Like I wouldn't have continued watching this movie if I didn't know at the end that she was gonna have this like great revenge.
Right.
Because it's such a hard watch in the beginning.
It is very hard to watch.
It's such a hard watch.
Yeah.
And it's like, so realistic.
Well, yeah, it is. It's very realistic, and you're like, this is insane. I mean, this movie was banned in like 30 countries when it first came out. I mean, it was automatically branded a video nasty in the United Kingdom. I don't even think you can get it in the United Kingdom still. You have to like bootleg it or download it somehow. It's not sold in the United Kingdom. But it spawned a remake in 2010, which we watched too, and that one is just as violent.
It's a pretty good remake.
It's a good remake. Yeah. They definitely did it justice. I did not hate the remake. There's just something about the one from the 70s that's just like, I don't know, just maybe for the time, it's just so much more shocking.
So appalling.
Yeah. And there's actually, after the remake was made in 2010, there was a Spit on Your Grave 2 and 3, and then a fourth one, I think, came out called Deja Vu, which stars Diane Keaton, what's her name? Camille Keaton returning to direct it, and so is the original director, Miri Zurich. So they didn't remake it, but they made a fourth off the remake in 2019. This one actually was like 2.5 hours long, this remake, and I heard it did horrible. I haven't seen it yet. Again, it's not one you can make, but I guess that one, it's following the story of Jennifer Hill's daughter, who has the same thing happen to her.
So terrible.
But then, Jennifer Hills goes and gets the revenge. Yeah. She's got to be, God, in 2019, she's got to be almost 80 years old,
that's
probably.
So it's so
killing Granny.
It just can happen.
Yeah, it very is. It is really messed up. But it's a good movie. Definitely, I call it classic now. I think Arrow sells it, as part of whatever. You can get it like on Servant Films. They sell it as part of like, the Day of the Woman, thing. And I love that title. I wish they kept that title because it definitely was the Day of the Woman.
I know. Spit on Your Grave is not as accurate, I would feel.
Yeah, I guess it's just like that whole like F you, kind of thing. But I think Day of Women, she really freaking... Just watch it, and then you get past the opening part where all the violation happens.
Which is a lot to get past.
And get to the killing, because she just completely, definitely. Huge trigger warning.
Huge trigger warning. Like, the biggest one I could definitely emphasize.
Yes, definitely a huge trigger
But if you get past that, it does end on like a...
Not
a happier note, but like a relief, maybe?
Yeah, you're kind of like, screw those guys,
Because things like that happen all the time, and the men don't get punished the way they should.
I'm sorry, 5 men. It wasn't 4, it was 5. Yeah, I love the title on the poster. This woman has just cut, chopped, broken, and burned 5 men beyond recognition. I love it.
Honestly, queen behavior.
Yeah, literally. That is my number 5. I Spit on Your Grave.
It is like a cult classic. It's an iconic movie.
I think it's, the
movie poster and everything.
Yeah, it's alone. It's a, I think, one-of-a-kind film.
What came out first, this or Last House on the Left?
Last House on the Left.
Okay, because I think
definitely there's just a lot more violent than Last House on the Left, in my opinion. I definitely think that
it's a lot
more violent.
The
whole idea, that rape revenge type of thing. Yeah,
they remind me a lot of each other.
Yes, so that is my number 5.
Alright, so the next one I'm going to talk about is 2013's Contracted, which I think I've seen this movie maybe twice in my life, and that's been more than enough. I still think about it
that movie was
quite often. But again, this used to be on Netflix, and the movie poster was enticing, and I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that.
Yes.
And little old, probably 13-year-old me was just mind blown. Something about like the human body just decaying while you're alive is like gross to me. Like I hate watching things. Like we just watched something and like the fingernails got torn off or something, and I don't like that. I don't like when we're decaying and we're alive. Not my vibe.
Right.
But basically it's about this young girl, and she's a lesbian, and she goes to a party and she gets drugged and she gets essayed by a man, and it kind of flashes back and it shows in the beginning of the movie that the man was at the morgue doing things with one of the bodies, and one of the bodies had a toe tag on it with like a hazmat symbol on it. So you're like already like, what the hell? Like, why? First of all, why would you pick that one?
Yeah,
to do it.
Right, exactly.
And then he like flashback. He goes to this party and he essays our main character here. Her name is Samantha, and she goes to the doctor because the next day she feels like shit. She's like, maybe I just have a hangover. I don't know what's going on, but like, you know, my body feels weird. Is what all I'm gonna say.
Right.
And the doctor proceeds to tell her that she has some sort of STD that would be transmitted from heterosexual sex. And she's like, no, that's not possible. I'm a lesbian. Like, that's not...
Right,
nothing's penetrating me, whatever.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, no, I don't know what to tell you. And it starts off small. It starts off with, like, a rash on her inner thigh. And the doctor's like, here's some antibiotics, whatever.
Yes.
And eventually... it just goes balls to the wall. Like, her eyes get all bloodshot red. They look like they're about to pop out of her face.
Yeah.
Her face gets all gaunt. She loses a bunch of weight. And
her teeth are falling out.
Her teeth just keep falling. Her fingernails, she's just peeling them off.
Yeah.
And they're just popping right off. Like, she's literally, like, decaying from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the craziest parts is she goes to the bathroom and maggots fall out.
Yeah, that was like, wow.
Maggots.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, when I saw that, I was like, no way. No freaking way.
And the whole thing is kind of like, I feel bad for her, because, like, this whole time she's trying to get back with her girlfriend wants nothing to do with her, and her girlfriend's also like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you okay?
Right, exactly.
And she's arguing with her mom. Her mom's like, are you okay? Whatever. So she goes back to her girlfriend's house. She's trying to be like, let's be together, whatever. They start making out, and Samantha starts vomiting blood into her mouth.
Yeah, I know. That stuff, like that freaky bodily
and it's not like cheesy, what's that movie? What movie we just talked about? No, it's been Under Grave. One with the gypsy and everything.
Wow, Drag Me to Hell.
Drag Me to Hell. It's not like a cheesy Drag Me to Hell, like throw up in your mouth scene.
Yeah.
It looks like dark purple black blood just like
yeah.
into the other girl's mouth. So after this, Samantha like runs away, loses her shit. She invites one of her guy friends over that she knows has a crush on her. And this is the most, I've been thinking about like having to talk about this scene out loud. It's been giving me anxiety. She invites one of her guy friends over because she's like, I'm decaying, my girlfriend left me, I'm sad. You know, my body's just literally decaying. And so they begin to have sex. I know. And he was like, anyways, more maggots and things like that come out, and
that's just pretty. And they're like showing it all.
They're showing it, and he's like,
it's not like they're alluding to any of this. It's all being shown.
Maggots and like other bodily fluids, like things come out, and he goes to the bathroom and he just starts screaming.
Yeah, I felt
like,
so bad for this poor guy.
And at the end, she basically like fully transforms into like a zombie, essentially.
Yeah, it's basically like she's the Walking Dead at this point.
Yeah.
Her whole body is like shut down. I don't know what's keeping her alive, honestly.
I don't know what's keeping her alive
some
either.
Sort of brain, but so yeah, it ends like what? She's out in like the middle of the road.
She's out in the middle of the road. She's like hissing at the cops. The cops, I think, try to like shoot her down.
Yeah.
But you can see like her skin is so pale. Like the special effects are pretty well done. Her skin is so pale. You can see all her veins trying to pop through.
Yeah.
She just looks like she's literally just a rotting corpse.
Exactly.
And it leaves, I mean, it's an interesting concept because it leaves options for so many, because obviously there's not a lot of studies done into necrophilia with like a biohazard corpse, like what that could be possibly when transferred to a living person. So who knows exactly what she's suffering from.
Yeah, you're never going to know. I mean, that's the thing. Well, and I think the movie is like also symbolic of like, you know, STDs, and like, you know, date rape and stuff like that, you know.
Because it could happen. I mean, you could get some weirdo at a party that's like...
Yeah, who the hell knows, you know, seriously.
But I've watched this movie twice in my life, and I think the second time I watched it, I couldn't get through all of it. Yeah. It just makes me sick to my stomach. I can do blood, guts, I enjoy that, but for some reason the vibe of this one just doesn't...
Well, it's just like the bodily... Yeah, the whole... Knowing what had happened, you know, what this guy did to result in this girl having all this stuff happen, it's like, what the hell? And then, like, yeah, the maggots and stuff, like, that was, like, that's wild.
That was too much.
Never seen something like that done before.
Especially because she's such, like, a relatable character. It's just, like, this young girl going on about her life. She's a server. She's at the restaurant. All the customers are like, what's wrong with your eyes? Like, why are you wearing sunglasses? And her eyes are, like, about to fall out of her head.
Yeah.
Like, just a crazy, crazy movie.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's worth the watch, but, like, you're going to need a shower after.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, So for my number 4, I picked, I'm not going to say this right, I think it's called Noroi.
Noroi?
Noroi. I don't know how to say it. Noroi. It's Noroi the Curse is the title of the movie, and it's a 2005 Japanese horror film. It's kind of like a documentary style, so there's a lot of camera, I guess first person camera shots and everything. But basically, it follows this guy. I can't pronounce a lot of these names, but it follows this guy who's making a documentary about all these paranormal happenings that have been going on around some part of Japan. And these people had gone missing too at the same time, and there's they think it's the spirits are angry with them kind of thing, and they're making these people go missing, and then they're ultimately found they've unalived themselves, and it's kind of very dark. It's a slow burn movie.
I like how it's funny that we're still saying unalive, but I just said necrophilia.
Right. I know,
YouTube's which one do I?
I know, seriously. Alright, so where was I? So yeah, it's following him, and he's going around parts of Japan where these incidents have been happening, trying to uncover if it's the spirits and everything. And it's a very unsettling movie. First off, it's shot found footage, first person. So there's some scenes in it where he's interviewing people, or they're out in the woods walking around, and you'll see something in the background, kind of like Hell House, where you have to rewind it.
I love those movies.
And I think I just saw something. Let's rewind it. And yeah, there's something standing behind the trees and stuff, and it's very well shot. It's very slow burn though. It did terrible at the box office. It was a $2 million budget and only made $6,000 at the box office.
That's terrible.
But the reason why there's nothing too crazy about this movie until the ending, which is why I thought it was very disturbing, because what he comes to find out through talking to some locals and stuff like that and getting more familiar, there's this curse that's been put on certain parts of these people, or certain places that are affecting these people, and the curse is basically from this god called, I'm going to butcher the name, it's called Kataga. I know I'm going to say it wrong. I got to find it. I can't find it. It's Kataga. I forget the name of it. Takага? Yes. Kagataba. I don't know how to say it. Kagataba. Kagutaba? Yeah, Kagutaba. It was basically a demon. So it's a deity these people have worshipped, and he's mad now, essentially, is what this paranormal director or paranormal investigator finds out. So that's why all these people have been gone missing and then finding, unalived. But basically, there's this plot twist in it where this girl that has been missing actually has been stealing fetuses from these abortion clinics and feeding them to this medium that can talk to this Kataba demon. So she's trying to basically appease this demon by feeding these fetuses to the medium, and come to find out this was a practice that was done in the folklore to appease this Kataba demon back in the feudal age of Japan, except it was done with monkeys, it wasn't done with human beings. Yeah. So that was the huge plot twist. Again, like I said, nothing really kind of alludes to this, until the very ending. You're kind of just what the hell,
Does it show it too?
No, it doesn't show it, but just no. Well, there's been reports of stuff of there's burglaries happening in abortion clinics and missing fetuses and stuff like that. They think it's black market stuff. He doesn't really connect the dots until the very end, when he learns about the mythology, and then he realizes oh my god, the whole mythology is this girl's actually reenacting this whole rite for this demon, to appease this demon essentially, and it's just wicked. I was just what the hell? I watched it. And like I said, it's a slow burn. I was getting ready to turn it off, and not be never watch this again, because it's kind of it's in a different language. It's hard to read the subtitles and stay completely, in tune with it, unless you're paying your whole undivided attention to it, and you have to really be into it as well. So I'm kind of just in and out of it, and then the end, I'm what did I just hear? And I had to rewind it, and oh my god, that's what they were doing? that is messed up. And I'm like, what the hell? This is wild. I went and like told you. I remember, you gotta read this.
I read the plot and I was like, I'm sorry?
I'm like, that is insane. I've never heard of something like that.
I know, it's hard when it's in a different language to keep unless something's happening, it's hard to keep your attention.
Yeah. Well, that's in the thing, too. It's like a slow burn. It's not like it's like The Ring or like Tale of Two Sisters or something like that, where it's kind of like keeping you... This is very like, or like The Medium and stuff like that, like where you're kind of just like, this is like, okay, whatever. It's a little boring here and there, but man, I was like, this is wild. And that's... that's my number. Was it
doesn't get much more fucked up than that, really.
Yeah, that was wild. So that's my number 4, the Curse, Nori. I think I'm saying it right, but yeah, go give it a watch.
I think you're saying it right, Nori.
Nori.
That's how it'd be pronounced. I'm not gonna pretend like I know. That was me last week with Train to Busan.
I know, it's like trying to pronounce these people's names. It's so hard to do. I wish we were more cultured.
We're Americans.
Yeah. So, that's my number, I think, 4.
Okay, so the next movie I'm going to talk about is 2007's The Poughkeepsie Tapes.
That's a messed up one.
Which, this reminds me more of like I talked about earlier, the house that Jack built. Like, you're basically watching a serial killer become a serial killer. You're watching all the crimes and everything.
Yeah, you're watching it from like the point of view of the serial killer.
Which is interesting if anybody hasn't seen it. It's all found footage, but it's like the police raid this house in Poughkeepsie and there's like 800 videotapes, and throughout all the tapes you kind of put together this whole story of this serial killer. I think his name is like Edward Cole or something.
Carver.
Edward
Carver.
And you're watching all his crimes, basically, and while they're watching these, at the same time, there's cops out there trying to find him in real life, because he still has people captive and all that.
Right.
And this movie, when it initially came out, was so realistic that it was banned for 10 years, and then it was able to come out on streaming services and VHS, but it still never got a theater release.
Yes, yeah.
I think it came out at, like, Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, like a private screening,
Yeah, but it's such a dark movie, and again, this is one for me that I don't think I'll ever watch again, just because of all the kids in this one too. Like, usually that's a big no in movies, like staying away from kids and stuff like that, but I believe like the very first tape out of the gate, he's with like an 8-year-old girl, and she's like a Girl Scout or something, and he goes right to her door and he's like, oh, your mom told me, like classic things that creepy guys would do, like, oh, your mom told me to abduct you.
Abducted girl, like literally doing like the stranger danger warnings,
Your mom told me to come get you, and like as they're watching these videos, it's so frustrating because he's doing all these things, you're watching him do it, but they still can't catch him.
Right.
And I believe he essays a girl, and he leaves sperm behind at the scene, but he actually stole the sperm from a sperm clinic.
Right.
So he's just like trolling the police.
Yeah, he's like trying to get caught, but not getting caught.
Not getting caught. Like he's just completely toying with them at the same time while still killing more people.
Right.
He goes on to kidnap Cheryl Dempsey, who's kind of like our main character, I would say. She's a teenager at the time when she gets kidnapped, and he just does some creepy ass shit to her. Like, you don't see him on camera unless he's in some decked out outfit. Like, he's smart enough not to be seen on camera.
Yes.
And it gets to the point where he tells her, tell me that you're happy I killed your parents. Tell me you're happy I killed your family.
Oh,
like, just changes her whole mindset, like Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome, like, to the extreme.
To the extreme. Yeah. To the point where when she gets rescued, she's, like, not there anymore.
Yeah, she, like, wants to be with him still.
Yes, yeah. She's not Cheryl anymore, and they put her in the hospital because obviously she was badly damaged.
Yeah.
And this part was so disturbing, but even when she was in the hospital, she was still trying to hurt herself because she got so used to pain that when she didn't have it, she started to deteriorate.
Right, exactly.
Which I don't think is, like, medically accurate, but...
Yeah, it's something psychological with her.
It's something psychological.
Yeah.
And, somebody interviewed her, like, a documentary clip, and she was just, it's so creepy. She's like, he loved me. He would never hurt me. Like, he loved me.
It's
I want to be with
disturbing.
him.
That movie, like, when I watched it, I was like, this is wild.
And then she goes on to unalive herself after she said that, but she's like, he loves me, and this and that. And goes on to unalive herself, and at the end, they kind of talk about, the cops are like, he could be anywhere, he could be out there, he could be watching this film right now.
Right.
And that's why I wish it got a theater release, because it would have been so cool to be sitting in the theater and be like, is he here?
Yeah, it's literally here, like...
Because given the personality that we know from the videos, he'd be the type to go see the movie. Most serial killers go back and visit things, they like memorabilia about themselves.
Yes. Oh, man, I know.
So I wish I would have seen this in theaters and been like, is he here? Like, is he next to me?
I know. That movie was wild when it came out, and Yeah, like the part I hated was when he went back after he killed that little girl.
Yes.
And he went back to the mom.
Yes.
And, oh my god! Like the mom was like handing out missing posters and stuff, and like he took one. He's like, "Yeah, I'll keep my eye out for her." And he's like got a camera and he's like filming her, and she like all of a sudden you get that feeling like you know. And he like then starts laughing at her like, ha ha ha, I got you, like I'm the one who did it, you know.
Just like how
I was like, that is sick. That's like more depraved than anything I've ever seen on like camera before. Man, that is wild.
This is definitely a one and done for me. Like I have
no
aspiration inside me to watch this again. I forgot about that scene.
I was like, that's dark. That's like really dark.
He like kidnaps his people, makes them his like slaves, and just does creepy shit, just dehumanizes them.
Yeah, he just like...
He doesn't kill them, he dehumanizes them and tortures them.
Yes, he just like completely like psychologically breaks them down.
And he's smart, like he's smart enough
very smart.
To defy police.
Yeah, he's been eluding capture, and that's the thing, is like they're still looking for him, you know?
Yeah, because they, after Cheryl unalives herself, they like exhume her body, because I think they get word that maybe her grave was messed with, and she has like another tape in her mouth.
Yeah.
And I think they play it, and it's him on there, something laughing, being like, haha, you still haven't gotten me.
Yeah, just literally being the... And I remember when I was watching this, I told my mom to watch it, because I'm like, it's real stuff.
It looks like it.
Well, it's all found footage, you know? Yeah. It's all like VHS recorded and stuff like that. It is, like, and there's cops talking and stuff like that.
This was another movie I was victimized by the movie poster, because I saw this on Netflix or Tubi back in the day. And I was like, oh, that looks interesting, let's watch it.
Right.
And I think the bio for the movie even says like a documentary about a serial killer. Like, they still play it up like it's real.
Yeah, they definitely play it up like it's real. And like you, halfway through, you're like, okay, this isn't real. You know, like there's no way they haven't caught this guy yet. You know.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, but the whole time you're still kind of thinking like this really could be real, or this probably has like some police may have seen some stuff like this, you know, with some of these serial killers.
There's another scene where like he has like some Girl Scouts come to his house, and he actually lets them go, but he's like, do you want to come inside? I have a puppy.
Yeah.
And they come inside, and then one of the little girls, she's eventually just like, I don't want to be here anymore. And he surprisingly lets them go. But
yeah, I know.
Just the fact they were in his house makes you, like, the whole time you're so uneasy.
Yeah, it's so, like, nerve-wracking. Very nerve-wracking movie. Alright, so for my number 3, I picked The Human Centipede.
The only.
Part 2, though. The first one, I don't know. There's something about the second one that was a lot more obscene than the first one.
I think most people feel that way. I hear a lot of stuff on TikTok. People say the second one was a bit more depraved.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Just maybe because it was shot in black and white, and it was just very...
Well, I read it. I don't know how true this is, but I read it a while ago. It wasn't allowed to be in color in the U.S. Really? Yeah, that's why it was in black and white.
That's wild. So The Human Centipede, for people that don't know, it's directed by, what's his name, Tom Six, I think is his name. And he's a pretty normal-looking dude. Yeah, Tom Six. And it's basically, it's 3 films that revolve around the whole, I guess, idea of sewing people ass to mouth and making a giant centipede out of them. And
this whole like fetish thing.
Yeah, it's this weird fetish thing. So the second one, though, definitely, I think, in my opinion, I've seen all 3 of them. The first one was like, okay, this is wild. Second one was like, I can't believe I just watched that. And then the third one was like, this is funny, because the third one really was more like a comedy. They were like making fun of it. Yeah, and they were like more making fun at the whole idea of it. You know, they're trying to make like a 500-person long centipede and all that stuff. It really wasn't that bad. But this one was wild. So it starts out with this guy Martin Lomax in East London, and he's kind of like I think he's a security guard or something like that, and he's a
security guard.
Yeah, he's like he's kind of gross looking. He's like obese.
Looking.
He's got like.
Which I think is intentional.
Yeah, and he's got like there's something wrong with him mentally. Like he's not all there. He lives with
his mom,
his abusive mother, who's very mean to him, and he gets the whole idea after seeing. I think you saw the first Human Centipede. He wanted to make his own, so he goes around kidnapping these people and trying to make his own. And it's just. Oh man, it's just insane.
It's literally balls to the wall. I think he kills his mom in the beginning.
He kills his mom so he can do this. That's like he had to get his mom out of the way so he could actually do this and do it at his place. I can't really talk a lot about the stuff that's on this film.
If you've seen it, you know the baby scene.
Yeah, there's that was the most iconic part, I think, of the movie. So he's basically like got all these people captured, ready to do this experiment and everything. One of them breaks free from it. No, she actually comes apart from it.
Yeah.
He's got them all together, and she actually rips her lips off of the centipede and gets away. She's pregnant too at the time and has the baby right there, and while she's escaping. So it's just pretty freaking wild. Definitely, these movies, I think they're just so outrageous. You're gonna feel uncomfortable watching them, but they're not made to be like very dark.
Yeah,
they're not like a depressing, they're more kind of made in the comical sense, like this is outrageous, let's make fun of it. Yeah, and it's very more gross than anything. It's not meant to be like, this is somebody's like artwork, this is their master film, But this one definitely, I think, out of the three, is definitely more on the darker side of it.
I agree. I think there's way more messed up stuff in this one.
Yes, there's a lot more showing of things than they did in the
takes it to the next level. Like, obviously, it opens up the discussion, too, of, like, mentally depraved people watching these horror movies and then taking it into their own hands. Instead of making it a movie, they try to make it real.
Right. Yeah, like the copycat killer type of thing. Like, it opens up that whole question, which I think he was kind of going for, too, with, like, that whole age-old question is, like, are horror movies bad for people to watch? Does it make them want to act out violence, And that has been,
debatable.
It's debatable. I definitely agree. I mean, I think certain people shouldn't watch horror movies if they have, tendencies like that,
If you're going to flip a switch like that.
Yeah, exactly. But nonetheless, go watch the whole trilogy if you can find it. This is like one that was on Netflix in the very beginning of Netflix, so I was able to watch it.
That's what I was just going to say. I watched it when I was younger, and I had a friend over, and, one by one, my family all started to come home, and they were in the living room, and they were watching it with me, and it was like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta keep watching. Once you're invested, you're like, okay, well, what's gonna happen now? And are they gonna get away? Are they not?
Exactly.
And I honestly don't even remember the ending of the second one. I just remember the beginning was so balls to the wall, the baby scene and all that. I don't remember what happens.
He's jacking off with sandpaper. What the hell is that? Can you believe that?
Just what other out of pocket things can we put in this movie?
Yeah, just outrageous, over the top stuff. Just insanity, and it's that's what I mean. Though it's meant to be kind of funny. It's not meant to be I mean, it's depraved. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like a dark, depraved feeling when you're watching.
It made me sick to my stomach just because it makes you I would put myself in that situation. It makes you think of the anatomy of everything that's going to happen when people are.
Oh yeah, well the whole idea is that's what makes it move is that whole vomiting and then the other part, and that's what's making the people move.
Okay. I knew this episode I was going to need a ginger ale after, and I think I do.
They're out of control. Again, I didn't think it was not the worst movie I've ever seen.
No, it's not.
But it's definitely what the hell,
But is it worth a watch for me? No.
No, definitely not worth the watch. I mean, it's like a one and done thing. I could probably watch it one more time before I die, just to be like, oh yeah, that's right.
We'll be on our deathbed and be like,
yeah, just play that one more time for me. I forgot.
Play that movie from my childhood.
Yeah.
The old people that are play that song, and it's this old jazz.
It reminds me of when I was a young boy.
When I was a young lad.
Too.
Okay.
Alright, so that's my number 3 there.
So the next movie I'm going to talk about is 2011's We Need to Talk About Kevin. Which, this is a tough movie because it's super disturbing, but at the same time, I'm almost people should watch it and kind of spread awareness around it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
It's a hard situation, but essentially it's about this family, and they have their firstborn son. His name is Kevin. And from, I don't want to say infancy, but probably from childhood, Kevin's just not normal, I would say. Yeah. And he's smart and he's manipulative, and he's different around his mom than he is with his dad. His dad's at work all day, the mom's a stay-at-home mom, and he purposely does things he's not toilet training, he's spreading feces on the walls.
Yeah, but definitely a problem child.
But then when the dad comes home, he's all lovey-dovey, and he's hugging on the dad, oh, I missed you, I loved you. And he's not like that towards the mom at all. So towards the mom, he's very cold and hard and just not I don't know, not like a normal child. If this was my kid, I definitely would take them somewhere to be assessed for something.
Yeah.
But he's smart enough to know to play the dad.
Yeah, and the dad's kind of putting off the mom, like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're just, it's postpartum or whatever,
Yeah, and it's crazy that the dad in this is John C. Reilly, which I've never seen him in a serious role.
I know, that was, very weird seeing him play that, yeah.
Even as a baby, he cries all the time, but it's only around the mom.
Yes.
Around the dad, he's just loving and everything, and to the mom, he's just dismissive.
Right.
And one day, the mom gets super frustrated and kind of throws him against the wall and breaks his elbow or his arm or something. And when the dad comes home, he covers for her and he's like, oh, I fell. But his whole life, he kind of uses that against her to manipulate her.
Yes.
And it's like, remember that one time you pushed me and you broke me?
Yeah, yep.
They give birth to a daughter. Her name is Celia. And since she came along, Kevin immediately just hated her.
Oh, yeah.
He's not affectionate towards her at all.
No.
She has a guinea pig that mysteriously goes missing, and Kevin put it in the garbage disposal.
Oh, I know. When I saw that, I'm like, that's terrible, man. That poor little animal didn't deserve that.
And the mom just, doesn't do anything about it. She's kind of just sitting there silently cleaning out the garbage disposal while Kevin's staring there watching her. Yeah. Being like, yeah, you cleaned my mess, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's a real asshole, too.
He's a huge asshole.
And he's older at this point now. He's like 10 or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years later, but it was a few years later they gave birth to the daughter.
Yes.
Basically, the dad is, at the point where he's like, you don't love my son, I want a divorce, so they start kind of fighting back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, it's Kevin's 16th birthday. And his dad had been teaching him about bow and arrow archery because, Kevin's very nice to the dad and they get along or whatever.
Right.
So Kevin's gotten really good at archery. Well, on his 16th birthday, he goes to school and he puts bike locks on all of the gym doors.
Yeah.
Gets everybody in there for a pep rally and just one by one shoots and kills them all with arrows.
Yeah.
Goes home, kills the dad, kills the daughter, and then leaves the mom.
Right.
And I think he kills himself or
he ends up getting caught.
He ends up getting caught.
Yeah, because I remember at the end the mom was at the school because she had she knew it was him doing it.
Yeah.
She knew it was him, and he's getting brought out in handcuffs. They got him, and I don't think he didn't kill everybody. He killed, I don't know, probably 10 to 15 people with a bow and arrow.
But he had killed the dad and the sister,
yes.
and just left the mom basically. And even when he's being carried out in handcuffs, he's looking at her kind of like a fuck you.
Yeah, smiling too.
And I think it's definitely super super dark movie, and I think it touches on school shootings and things like that, and how obviously not making excuses at all for school shooters.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any excuse, but I think possibly there are times in childhood where people should intervene and be like,
yeah, take a look at your kid.
Take a look at your kid. You need to go to therapy. Obviously, something's going on here.
Something's bothering this kid.
Sometimes you should have. I mean, mental health does play a part in it. Obviously, gun control does too.
Sure,
100%. But mental health at some point does. So I think this is an important movie to watch. It's very disturbing, but it's real. This is what happens.
This is what happened. This is
this is Sandy Hook. This is what happens.
The shooter's parents, how they feel, essentially, is that how that's what you're looking at, is the shooter's parents, which I definitely think everybody should see this movie and definitely, have an opinion on it.
Because maybe it'll open up the conversation of, hey, we should take this more seriously than just, thoughts and prayers. We should actually do something about this.
Yes, exactly. Let's,
there's a lot of things to address here. There's mental health, there's gun control, there's a lot to go through.
Oh my god, yeah, both of those things. I mean, they're hot topics, and they need to be talked about in an actual, let's get something done about it sense,
And that's what I think the point was of this movie, is to be obviously people have issues. How do they have access to these weapons? Obviously he had something going on.
Why would you allow your son to have a bow and arrow?
Yeah. And I'm surprised, what's shocking about this movie is they use a bow and arrow rather than a gun.
Right.
It's surprising. Because I do think that's what they were going for, was a school shooting kind of vibe.
Right.
They used a bow and arrow, so I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter really the weapon.
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter.
Anything you can do harm with, honestly.
But yeah, definitely a disturbing movie, but I would say it's important given, today's society.
No, I definitely agree. Definitely a good movie to watch. Alright, so my number 2, speaking of guinea pig, is the Guinea Pig film series.
Not put in a drain cleaner, though?
No, these are a lot worse. So, these are short films that came out between, it was 1985 up until, I think, 1990s, and then they started, becoming more of, a dark black comedy type of thing. It consists of 6 films. They're shorts, running about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, so just under an hour. And they're basically like faux snuff films. So that's basically all of what they are. So it's like this guy. It's like basically you're watching a snuff film essentially. I've only seen one of them. I haven't seen all 6. I didn't want to after I saw the second one. So the one I saw was Guinea Pig Flowers of Flesh and Blood. And this one it's super messed up. It's like, you think it's like a snuff film. It's based off a Japanese manga. This guinea pig story, it's based off a manga that the director of the movies wrote himself. But this one is about a samurai, or a guy who's dressed like a samurai. He goes and abducts a woman and takes her home and dismembers her and adds her to a body collection part. And like, you're watching it the whole time. That's all the movie is. It's like 40 minutes of that. So again, I was like, this is wild. You know, I want to see what this is about. So I watched it and I was like, this is horrible. This is like an actual snuff film. And actually, funny story with this particular one, it was so realistic that Charlie Sheen saw it and he actually reported it to Japanese authorities, and the guy who directed the film had to go on trial and prove that it was all just special effects.
Charlie Sheen, that's so random.
Yeah, he saw it and got so freaked out that he just watched a snuff film, and
he's probably trying to cover his own image.
Yeah, it's just insane. I'm like, that's wild. I never heard about that until I was researching about it. And yeah, these movies are not, like, I would definitely not recommend unless you're just a total gore head.
Yeah.
To watch these. I mean,
like realistic gore heads.
Yeah, they're realistic, but you can tell they're fake. They're not, like, it's not extremely well done.
They're not like the cheesy ketchup, that kind of
No, it's not like that. It's not like, you know, basket case effects, you know, where it's like all claymation stuff. I mean, it's like real prosthetics and stuff, you know. It's pretty well done, but you can tell it's fake. I mean, but I guess maybe at the time when Charlie Sheen saw this, maybe he did think it was real. But yeah, these movies are, again, you're not going to find them, you know, anywhere. I had to look online. They're not going to be on any streaming service or anything like that.
They're not on Netflix.
No, they were never on that. This is more kind of like that niche part of horror that I was talking about, where there is just like people that want to watch, like, you know, fake snuff films or real snuff films.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, definitely.
Which we don't stand.
No, we don't stand. I'm just this is one of the most messed up movies I've ever seen, and literally it was just 45 minutes of nothing but just dismemberment and.
Yeah, no plot line, no story.
Yeah, there was really no storyline to it.
Nothing like that.
Yeah, just very. Yeah, and these movies are banned in like a lot of countries too, so you're gonna have to find them online. There was also some controversy around this film series that a serial killer in Japan was copycat killing because of these movies and everything.
I think I did hear that.
Yeah.
I used to watch the show called Copycat Killers.
Yeah, and this was the film series that they claimed, the director claimed, like, there's none of this in this movie was anything that he did, but he said, like, I don't know, there was just the whole reason behind them thinking that was they found a copy of this in his house when they arrested him. So like, oh, this movie, because it's so violent and so bad, he did that, you know, which, you know, you can't really determine that unless, you know, he says, yes, this inspired me to do so, you know.
Yeah. It's hard to really put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
That'd be like saying that because we have an episode like this, we do something violent. You know?
Yeah, it's exactly. It's hard to...
grasping at straws.
Yeah, that comes with a grain of salt, you know. Yeah. Just saying, oh yeah, he had this bad movie, so...
Yeah.
Again, it's not, like I said, it's not so realistic where
you can
it's
tell.
Like, holy crap. But you can tell. It's like, there's no way, like, that much blood would come out like that, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like over the top.
Yeah, but that's not like Evil Dead, like your arm is chopped off and spraying, you know.
That's kind of what I was getting at, is like the cheesy kind of gore.
Yeah, it's cheesy enough to where you know it's not, but it's not.
Yeah,
cheesy.
All right, the next one I'm going to talk about is 2012's Excision. Which, if you haven't seen this movie, it's actually a pretty stacked cast. It's got Matthew Gray Goobler from Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
It's got John Waters in it.
John Waters is in there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty stacked cast. The main girl, too, Annalee McCord. I think she was in, like, 90210 or something.
Uh-huh.
But they play her as the main character. Her name is Pauline, and she has a sister named Grace. And they're both, like, teenagers, like, I'd say 12 to 15 years old. Pauline's the older one, and Grace has cystic fibrosis, which is like a congenital abnormality where you have like lung disorders and you basically can't breathe, and you eventually need a lung transplant.
That's gonna suck.
Yeah, and you're born with it. The family's like super fucked up. The mom's just like a raging bitch. Like, if you watch it, it's funny. She just like braids the shit out of the dad, but she's just a raging bitch. And Pauline is a little, little abnormal. She has this fascination that she wants to be a surgeon. And throughout the whole movie, it's kind of her going on about her life, but she's just kind of having these fantasies about all this blood everywhere and, like, cutting people up and doing all these really violent things as a kid.
Right.
And she has a scene where she goes up to this kid and who's, like, a popular kid in school, and she's like, I want you to take my virginity. And he's like, of course. He's like, okay. But they're doing it, and the only way she's able to enjoy it is she, like, it kind of switches and it flips to her, like, choking and stabbing him in, like, this huge pool of blood. And then she's able to, like, start enjoying it.
Oh, my God.
She's also on her period, and she makes him, like, do things with that.
God.
And she's, like, has this, like, fascination and obsession with blood.
Gotcha.
And just, like, hurting other people. She does have some great one-liners, though, because she's obviously, they bully the fuck out of her, obviously, in school.
Right.
But she's got some great one-liners. She's always like, bitch, I'll cut you open when I'm a surgeon. Like, she's got some good one-liners, but she's constantly watching, like, surgeon videos and, like,
has this fascination with, like, death and butchery and stuff,
and there's this little girl across the street who always rides her bike by, and I guess they used to be friends when they were younger, before Pauline turned into a weirdo. And, she was kind of rude to Pauline one day. Pauline's like, do you want to come over and play jump rope? And the girl was just like, no, you're weird, whatever. So a couple days later, when her parents are at work, she is just home with her sister Grace, and I guess they had just talked on the phone how Grace is on the lung transplant waiting list. It's not looking good. They don't think she's going to live that long.
Right.
And it's really sad because Grace is a sweet girl, and she's like, I just want to get married one day. I want to go to prom. I want to do all this stuff, and I'm not going to make it. It's very sad.
Right.
So Pauline invites the neighborhood girl over. She chloroforms her, and the ending scene is Pauline's, like, all decked out, and she has Grace on one table and the neighborhood girl on the other, and she's performing a lung transplant.
She's doing a lung transplant
on both of these girls.
Oh my God.
And you can see, like, the mom comes home, and you can see that Grace is just visibly dead. The neighborhood girl is just visibly dead.
Yeah.
But Pauline's, like, so far in this psychosis. She's like, look, Mom, like, she's able to breathe now. Like, her lungs are good.
Oh my God.
She's able to breathe. And the mom just, like, takes her. And the mom's, like, a raging bitch this whole movie. But at the end, the mom just takes her and just hugs her and is like, it's okay. Like, you're okay. You're safe now. You're okay. But, like, you kind of think it's coming at the end, but you don't know for sure, and it shows a lot of it. Like, it shows a lot of the cutting and the
I'm sure,
the actual transplant itself. It's pretty gory.
Damn.
But just a very
I gotta see that. That sounds wild.
It's a very, like, this is what I mean, like, when movies make you feel very empty. Like, it's a very drawn out, empty movie, and they make Pauline just, like, this weird, creepy little girl, and, like, even, like, her mom is all excited to make her go to prom, and she's just not about it. Like, you can tell there's something off.
Oh, great.
And throughout the movie, her mental health just gets worse and worse and worse.
And she gets in this psychosis.
I think her parents would make her go to therapy, too, and she's still just not about it. She's so far gone at that point.
Yeah,
and, like, she's doing it for a good...
institutionalized.
Yeah, she's doing it for a good cause, but obviously a lung transplant is not going to work.
No, I guess she wants to help and be a surgeon, but that's insane, man. Like,
she does some weird shit throughout the movie.
Good Lord. Yeah, I want to watch that one.
Yeah. She says, like, she's like, well, you have to forgive me, it's my first surgery, like, it's not my best work.
So she's just delusional.
And the mom's just, like, hysterically screaming, and...
Right.
It's kind of sad, because, like, at first Pauline's, like, happy and, like, proud of what she did, but then once the mom starts kind of crying hysterically, I think Pauline kind of, like, sinks in and is like, oh, what did I just do?
Right, like, she's, like, in and out of this.
So it's almost like some... I don't know, like, personality disorder there, where it's like she's one person and then she's another person.
Like schizophrenia, like, in and out of, like, reality, you know?
Yeah. It's pretty well done, though. No, it's not like the cheesy, dumb kind of disturbing. It's like a higher level of disturbing horror.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. Alright, so for my last pick, I picked 2007's French horror film Inside, directed by Julien Murray and Alexandre Bustilio.
Is it French?
Yeah, it's a French horror movie. So this one starts out, opening scene is a car accident that these two cars were in, and it's this girl Sarah and her husband, and Sarah is, hang on a second, I forget how pregnant she is. She's, I think, about 4 months pregnant, or she's about 5 months pregnant in this car accident. And then it cuts to 4 months later. She's at her OBGYN. She's like basically ready to go into labor. So they're, talking about planning that, like bringing her to the hospital in the next couple of days to induce labor because she's like beyond like due now, so they're going to induce it. And she's still got a couple like bangs and scrapes that are still healing on her face and everything from the car accident. Her husband did pass away in the car accident, so she's just a widowed, soon-to-be mother. And so she goes back home after the OBGYN visit, and she's a photographer, so that's what she does for work and everything. And she is just kind of doing the run-of-the-mill stuff, photographers developing pictures and everything like that. It's getting late. She calls her boss and says, I can meet whatever so-and-so to do this and blah, 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 getting to work together, essentially. It's all in French, so you got to be reading subtitles. And then she notices, she hears a knock at the door, and she's like, okay, this is weird. It's like 9 o'clock. Who's knocking at my door? And she, was asking, like, hello, who is it? And the lady's like, it's a girl at the door. And she says, hi, I'm having car trouble. My car won't start. It broke down. I'm just around the block, and I use your phone. And she's like, well, what about your mobile? I know you have a cell phone. It's 2007. Most people, I think, older people are going to have cell phones. Yeah. And she's like, no, no service. I'm like out of battery. And she's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't let you in. My husband works. He works. He's sleeping right now, so I don't want to disturb him by letting you in. And she's like, no, I'll be quick. And she's like, no, I told you my husband's sleeping. And then she goes, I know you don't have a husband, Sarah. And then she's like, wait a minute. And you're kind of like watching this too. You're like, oh shit, okay. And she's like, who is this? And she's like, open the door and I'll show you. And she's like, no. So she's like, freaking out. She's like about to call the cops. And then she like hears something, or she goes around, like closes all the blinds. And then she's sitting in her living room and she's got like a glass door, and the girl's standing at the glass door. And she's like, paralyzed with fear, staring at her, and the girl punches and cracks the glass, and then so she picks up her camera because it's dark in the room and starts taking pictures of her. The girl like flees. She calls the police. The police arrive. They went and did like a perimeter search of the house. The girl's not there or whatever. So she, they kind of say, we'll check on you later this evening, or call if there's any more complaints. So she's like, all right, whatever. But the whole time, I think this is how she gets into the house, the girl. The whole time the cops are there, they left the front door open. So I think this girl easily could have snuck in the front door and went and hid. They never searched the inside of the house. So later on, she goes to sleep and everything like that. And then you see this girl that you saw outside. She's upstairs now with these giant pair of shears, man. I mean, these are the biggest pair of scissors I've ever seen. And she's just staring at Sarah. And she's just like, kind of like humming and stuff like that, and she crawls on top of her, and you think she's just going to kill her, right? No, she takes the scissors and starts at the belly button and starts to cut, and Sarah immediately wakes up. I mean, you're going to feel that, and she pulls the scissors, slashes Sarah across the face with the scissors, cuts her like face like wide open. She shoves her, no, she hits her with a vase or something like that. It was next to the bed. She hits this girl with the vase, runs into the bathroom, locks herself in the bathroom. She's in hysterics. Her stomach's bleeding a little bit because she got poked with the scissors there.
Yeah, of course.
Mind you, she's like about to pop from labor right now, any minute. And as she's running into the bathroom, her water breaks. So she's like going into labor right now. And this woman is trying to cut the baby out of her stomach. And from that point on, it really just goes balls to the wall. This movie is very, very violent.
Oh, yeah.
It's extremely violent, actually. There's some scenes in it that I can't really talk about, but essentially after she's like locked in the bathroom, she kind of like sneak out because the girl's going around like the house and like looking for things. And there's something mentally wrong with this girl. She's like hitting herself. She's like, there's something wrong with this girl that wants the baby from her stomach. Ultimately, the cops come back to do a check on her. The girl that Sarah's obviously still up in the bathroom, hiding from the girl. The girl answers the door, and the cops are like, how you doing, Miss So-and-so, Sarah? Is everything okay? Yeah, and she's like, no, everything's fine. Thank you for stopping back to check on me and everything like that. And then the cops leave, but as they're leaving, they're like walking back to the car. They're like, wait a second, she's pregnant. This girl's not pregnant. So they go back, knock on the door, and this girl thinks it's just like, she says, "Did you forget something, boys?" And she's like, and they kick open the door and they're like, "Yeah, when are you supposed to be due again? Meeting your pregnancy." Yeah. So they knew right off the bat, like, this isn't her. So they got her in handcuffs. They're about to cuff her. Then the one cop goes upstairs to find the Sarah girl. She pulls out this needle for like crocheting and stabs the cop that's about to handcuff her, takes his gun, runs upstairs after the other cop, and blasts him in the head. I've never seen a headshot like this. And his whole head explodes, man. It was insane, the amount of gore. It just explodes like a lemon. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a wild movie. Ultimately, I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I know I'm just kind of rambling now. But ultimately, there's this one scene where it kind of threw me off though because like the cop that she stabbed. This other cop shows up. There's 3 cops in this car, so he hears the gunshots, goes running in. She cuts the power to the place. She kills this cop, like gouges his eyes out, and I think shoots him in the head with like a shotgun or something, or no, with a gun, or with the handgun. And at the end of the movie, though, it's really bizarre. The cop that she shot to turns the power back on while Sarah's downstairs. Sarah's like about to kill this girl because she finally got free and got like the upper hand on her and everything like that. The cop turns this light on, and then he turns around and his eyes are missing, and he's got this like hole in his head, and he starts beating Sarah in the stomach with a billy club, but like he's clearly dead. So I don't know what the point of that was in the movie. I mean, he's clearly dead. There's no way he's alive.
It's gotta be some kind of like supernatural thing there.
Yeah, but it was like, why are you throwing that in like at the end of the movie?
I know. Like, you just touch on it the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and then the girl that wants the baby, she starts killing the cop again, starts stabbing him, and I'm like, what was this?
Yeah, what was going on?
What was the point of that? And then ultimately, the movie ends on a sad note. The girl ends up cutting the baby from Sarah's stomach, and obviously the baby's dead at this point. I mean, there's no chance this baby lived, especially after being hit in the stomach with a billy club.
Yeah.
And it ends with her sitting in a rocking chair in Sarah's house, just rocking back and forth, holding a stillborn child.
So creepy.
Extremely dark movie. Again, just wanted to see what all the hubbub was about it. Bombed at the box office. Definitely one of those awesome French extreme movies, though, like Frontiers, Martyrs, High Tension, on the newer extreme movies. I definitely, I like the idea of this film. It was just very, very violent. They did a remake of this, too, I think, in like 2016, American remake of it. Not nearly as violent of it, but same kind of idea. But yeah, that is my number 1 pick.
I'm trying to look it up because I know. So it happened in 2015. There was a time too where something similar happened, but it was a woman that answered something off a Craigslist ad.
Yeah.
And she answered an ad for baby clothes, and she showed up to a pregnant woman's house.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, the pregnant woman showed up. I don't know, and she asked for baby clothes even though she didn't really have a kid.
Yes.
And then she tried to cut the baby out of the woman's stomach.
Right.
But that happened in 2015, so I didn't know if it happened before this movie and they drew inspiration or vice versa.
No, I think, this one definitely happened before.
This happened in 2015.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe she was just copycatting this movie then, saw this movie.
Yeah, this happened in Colorado. A stranger stabbed a pregnant woman who answered her Craigslist ad for baby clothes in Colorado and cut the female's fetus from her womb.
Did the baby live?
No. Yeah. But the mom survived.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very violent. It's a short movie, too. It's only like 82 minutes long. But yeah, definitely when I watched this, I was just like, damn, this is like ultra violent. But a lot of these like newer French horror movies, that was like the thing for them, was like they were ultra violent. Like Frontiers is extremely violent, Martyrs is extremely, High Tension is extremely violent. But I think out of all of them, this one that I've seen is probably the most violent, just because it centers around that whole idea.
I was saying, anything to do with like pregnancy like that is scary.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you're like fearing for like her, like, oh my god, is she gonna get to the hospital? But you kind of know watching this movie, it's not gonna end on a happy note.
Even given the stress and everything like that.
But the big plot twist of the movie too was, I forgot to mention this, was that the girl that wants the baby actually was in the accident, the other car, and she lost her baby in the accident. So she's pissed that, Sarah got to keep her baby and she had to lose hers. So that's why she wants Sarah's baby. So it's not just some like random act of violence. There's some sort of motive behind it,
That was like that movie we just watched. Was it Little Bone Lodge? Where remember she had the dad in the wheelchair and she was giving him medicine and stuff.
Yes.
Because she was in a car accident, her family was killed, so she.
Yes, exactly.
Took somebody else's family.
Yep, exactly.
That was a good movie too.
Yeah, that one was pretty good too. But yeah, this was just like the violence in this was out of control, and the blood.
It was a lot of violence.
It was super, super violent.
There were some crazy scenes.
I personally liked it. I thought it was a great movie. I wouldn't I wouldn't watch it. It's like kind of like I'll watch it in 10 years and see if I feel any different.
Definitely unique concept, I would say.
Definitely, and it's a woman doing it too.
Yeah.
Normally it's men in these like slasher murder.
It's always some angry man.
Yeah, and now it's a pissed off woman. So that is my number one, Inside.
Alright, so the last one I'm going to talk about is 2011's Megan is Missing, which...
Man, I hate that movie.
I will never watch this movie again, ever. I think, especially because when it came out, 2011, I was, the same age as the main character, pretty much. And this was me, like, I was an idiot talking to people online.
Right.
And, like, this could have easily been me. But if anybody hasn't seen it, this used to be on Netflix back in the day. You're just scrolling through Human Centipede and Megan is Missing. Yep. And I watched it at a sleepover with another one of my friends. We were, I think, same age as her, 13. And our main character, Megan, she has a best friend, Amy. And Megan's like a little more mature than Amy, I would say. And they're at like a party, and it's all found footage and everything like that. It's all very realistic. And Megan starts talking to this guy online that her friend gave her his like handle to. I don't know if it would have been AOL or what it would have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some chat handle. And the guy's name is Josh, right? So him and Megan are talking for a couple weeks. They're video chatting, but his camera is always mysteriously broken. So it's just like catfish, red flag number one.
Exactly.
They make a plan to meet at a party, and the next day he didn't show to the party. And she messages him, and she's all pissed. And he described to her what she was wearing, but he was just too shy to come up. So you're kind of watching, and you're like, okay, maybe they're the same age, because like, how would he have gotten to this party?
Right.
Maybe they're actually teenagers. I don't know.
Yeah.
But later on, he's like, oh, let's meet behind this diner in town. And she's 14, so she doesn't really tell anybody. Like, her friend Amy knows, because that's her best friend, and they're 14. Mm-hmm. She doesn't tell her parents or anything, and obviously he kidnaps her, and the whole movie is kind of showing news footage of Megan is missing, where is she?
Right.
And, again, just dumb parts on children parts, but Amy, her friend, is, like, making a video blog to Megan, being like, I miss you so much, talking all this stuff, and she's underneath a bridge in, like, the middle of the woods, and you see a man just snatch her.
Right.
And then we kind of see what happened to Megan.
Yeah.
Because he takes the camera that Amy had, and he's kind of filming everything.
Right.
And it's so sad and just, like, heartbreaking, because he has Amy tied up now in some sketchy-ass basement, making her eat out of a dog food bowl, and she's crying, and she's saying, I just want my teddy bear.
Right.
And, like, obviously, like I said, she's not as mature as Megan. She wasn't interested in boys or anything like that. They were just best friends. And just hear her cry and say, I want my teddy bear, like, I want my mom.
It is really sad.
It's so sad, and he just manipulates the shit out of her. He's like, if you get into this blue bucket, I'll conceal you, and I'll take you away. That way nobody will know my identity, and I'll save you.
Right.
And you can leave. And she's naively gets in, and he puts her in the bucket, and Megan's body's in there, like, decaying away. Yeah. And, like, that's, like, one of the biggest jump scares when you see he takes the top off and just saw her body in there.
Oh, my God, that's terrible.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Puts Amy in the same thing as her, so she starts screaming, kicking, whatever, and the movie ends as he's in the woods, and he's digging up a hole, and he puts the blue bucket in there.
Yeah.
And just drops his flashlight, drops the camera, walks away. So obviously he wasn't going to let her go.
No.
And I found out that this movie was actually helped paid for by some, like, internet safety company.
Sure.
They put a bunch of money into it, trying to raise awareness for internet safety for kids.
Right.
Everybody kept saying how traumatizing it was and things like that, but it is, like, I guess important.
No,
like,
it definitely, I think, it's like one of those Lifetime movies, like, where you have to kind of watch it,
Yeah. But, like, do you have to watch it to know? I don't know.
To know the danger. Oh, no, seriously, though. I mean, I get, like, back then, maybe, but I think nowadays, I think people are probably a little bit more well-educated on, what the dangers are of, like, meeting people you meet on the internet and everything. Yeah. I can see, like, early 2000s, mid-2000s, that was...
Yeah, I guess the guy self-financed the film himself because he thought investors wouldn't because of how violent it was.
Right.
They shot it over just a week.
Yeah.
And most of the cast were all adolescents, and their parents were all on set and everything because of how crazy it was. So,
those poor kids playing that role.
The parents must have at least seen like the, I guess, positives in it.
Yeah, get the message across because there is a deep message in that movie for sure. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like watching at that age, like I was an idiot. I would have been like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're young like that, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
And I'm glad I watched it because it freaked me the fuck out. Right. I was like, I'm never talking to anybody again. I don't care if I'm talking to them on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not talking to anybody ever again.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in this day and age, too, like nothing really different has changed, and like how to like determine
or how to protect kids online.
Well, like there is that I think, but just like how to determine
who's
real and who's not. You know, because like nowadays it's like with AI and stuff like that. They could be masking themselves as this person and have a million pictures made. Look like this person, but they're really not that person at all,
It always makes me think of that Degrassi episode too, when I think it's Darcy, and she like she's talking to that guy online, and he's like some young, his username was like Skater Boy.
Yeah.
And then she meets him, and he's like a 50-year-old man.
Yeah, he's like an old man.
And she's like, go inside, call the cops. Like that just freaks me out so much because the possibilities of who you could meet online are endless.
Oh, that's how a lot of like that stuff does happen.
Yeah.
Like talking online to a stranger, somebody they thought they knew.
It's so creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, that movie was very
one and done.
Yeah, disturbing. I remember watching that. I'm like, that's violent.
All right. Well, if you, I guess, want to suffer through any of these movies, and you're like, wow, they sound interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if for you guys that listen like this kind of horror, there's a list I found on IMDb of like the most disturbing movies of all time. I think it's like 60 movies.
What was the one of them? It was like Nazi something.
Oh my god, no, those are just like dumb though.
Oh, okay.
They're like those like
the
Nazi
guinea wizards.
Yeah, it was like the guinea pig movies, just like pure, like just chaos and snuff films and.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, that's stupid. But yeah, there is a list on there that gives you like I guess the criteria of what you want to look for if you're looking for disturbing movies, anywhere from like ultra violent to just depraved sickness.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go buy a ginger ale now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's disturbing movies.
But until then, check us out next week, guys.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.
Not depraved, stay spooky.